Can we turn up the microphone?
Mind over matter. One Cold War, not big budgets.
I actually asked for 3 microphones, but I think they gave us.
And the management, again, may follow the light of cutbacks on all levels.
Well, they're like one person, you know. Talk about twin flames, talk about twin rays. You know what makes a good relationship, and they've been together for 50 years, when the relationship is not about the relationship, right? They are working on a big vision together, and they're bringing in lots of high information from that perspective, the masculine
That's
feminine.
right. And the reason we look so good after all these years is because the other side keeps us active through prayer and meditation. So that's the secret. It's not putting books into your shopping bag, it's putting light into your head.
You could put
Into
put a few books into your shopping bag, though. That's okay.
And feel free to sit on the floor. We always tell them that we don't have a big enough room, and we can take a picture of it, Alan, for next year.
Right. Yeah, we definitely need a bigger room here because this is so important. I think, you know, everyone's saying great things at this expo, but we're saying really great things. No, it's all taken together. It's all about the higher mind, and this is really what we want to convey today, is that we have access to infinite knowledge. Beyond the body, beyond the personality, beyond your history, there's more to us. And this is the experience that Dr. Hurtak had in 1973 when he had this, not a download, he actually went to these other realms. He talk about ascension, this guy has done it. He transmuted his body into a light frequency, and he met these beings and went to the other realms, and that's how he was able to put together this book, which is so multidimensional, so multi-layered.
So that's only one aspect. We're not really talking about it too much today, but we still have a few minutes. The interesting thing is it's not just about the experience, it's about what he saw. He saw that the Great Pyramid was aligned to Orion, which was like 20 years before Robert Bevell came out with that.
And we saw that there was an energy hydraulic system under the Great Pyramid Giza area, later understood as the tomb of Osiris, which we found 2 years before Zahi was. That will be authenticated by a new generation of Egyptologists. We didn't have the license to excavate, but we found through remote viewing and ground penetrating radar the tomb of Osiris, which means, according to Egyptian tradition, when the tomb of Osiris is found, the Lord of Light who brought music to the planet, the vibrations will be changed. We will enter what we believe now is the 5th dimension.
Veronica, can we use some of those chairs in the back? Is that possible? Maybe you pull them out?
You could sit up here on the stage, on the floor. I mean, you could sit in the middle of the room.
And there's a few chairs along the back. She just needs one.
Is the
they're all
media person in the back?
No, Ted already turned it on.
He did turn it on.
Please turn on those cameras so we can have the full
You could sit there.
presentation.
You could come up and sit here. I know, sorry, we should have definitely a bigger room. We got the La Jolla Ballroom. We'll rent the whole lobby next year. We're non-local anyway. You think you're sitting there? You're
Please,
really...
turn off your cell phones so we're not disrupted by incoming calls, so we can meditate and vibrate on higher levels, because this is an experiential level of contact that we're talking about, not just information for the sake of the information, but energy transformation.
You can
Are
get
you
away
holding
from
two
the...
chairs there?
You can get... Oh, okay. Yeah, you can sit on the floor here, along the side, right up. Thank you. You're fine.
Some of you may know me in my work with Uri Geller in 1974. This article was published by parapsychologists at the University of California, Berkeley. It speaks of my work with Uri Geller in terms of the time grids. It said, watchmen of the world. Specifically, everything that was published in this article has come to pass, including the location of storms, the shift of the mind, and of course the shift of the planet that's now beginning to take place. So we're at a very unique point of transition, which requires us to understand not so much the human self, but the overself, the higher self that has, as it were, the ingredients for evolutionary change.
That's why this time is so exciting. We are at the threshold of change. We're all here at this expo because something is happening. We know it, right? I mean, something happening, or is just my imagination? No, there's something happening here, and you know what? Nobody knows what that is. Nobody knows what's going on. So we're giving a window into the unknown, into possibilities, by understanding who we are, by opening the greater mind of awareness. Then you have a map to the unknown. That's what we're really excited about.
So actually, as we're at the top of the hour, and Alan is well known for his great book, Making Contact, but also for being a host on many shows. I'm going to let him do the introductions for all of us.
That's right. I am really honored. I say really honored because these two people have traveled the world for 50 years giving the message that there's more to the human being than just meat and potatoes. There's something immaterial about us, something that is so infinite and so divine, and they were one of the first ones to say that publicly, and they've been dedicated to this work. They travel all over. They are nonstop. It's hard for me to keep up with them. They are working every single day. Dr. Desiree and Dr. J.J. Hurtak, let's give them a big hand because all that, yes.
Alan Steinfeld, who has interviewed almost everybody on the planet. I'm not kidding. You walk down the streets of New York with them on the subways or whatever, and they go, Alan Steinfeld, I saw you on New Realities YouTube. And
yes. Your new book, Alan, is important because you have the heavyweights who have done the research behind the scenes that this is a reality.
Right. This book is a compilation of all the best thinkers in the field, including the Hurtaks and Linda Moulton Howe, if you've seen her.
And Carolyn Corey.
And Whitley Strieber and John Mack. Anyone know who John Mack was? He was a psychiatrist at Harvard who started to hear about people having abductions. He said, these people must be crazy. Until he met the people. And people started to share these intense experiences. And he said it's either one or two things. Either they're suffering from a severe neurological problem, or I have to expand my possibilities. And he chose to expand what he considered to be real and opened up a whole field for him. And he became such an authority on the field and such a validator of a lot of people's realities. How many people have seen a UFO, have had an experience in here? Yes, Olivia too. Yes, right? Well, that's 3/4
Yeah, we have a 7-year-old that actually seen it.
And we could be told by the mainstream, you're just making it up, you're crazy, you didn't see anything. Or you could be told by your experience that I had something real happen to me. Something really want to know. Oh, here's my little star seed.
Come on up.
Come on up for a second. This is
7
Olivia.
years old, and she saw a UFO while on the beach.
Tell people what you saw on the beach. That's when you were 5 years old?
No, 6.
6, go ahead, tell them.
I was on the beach with my friends, and we were playing on the sand, at making a sandcastle, and I saw like the oval thing on the bottom, and then the egg thing on the top, like the half egg, and there was 2 green dots in it, and one had 2 black dots on it, and it looked at me, then the ship disappeared.
Just disappeared.
And what happened to you? How were you different?
I started talking to animals.
There you go.
Yeah.
So John Mack and I were in Africa, South Africa, Zimbabwe together in a whole schoolhouse of young children back in the late 1990s, I should say early 1990s, had contact experiences that were unbelievable, that shook the foundations of scientists in that part of the world.
It's called the Ariel School, if you hadn't heard about it. It's amazing.
And so we are in a point of a great transition right now, and we're going to touch upon some of the high points. So with that, fasten your seatbelts.
And I have to say, though, as much as we're all into extraterrestrials and UFOs, tonight is really going to be, because it's short for us, 3 people talking an hour and a half. It's going to be on the power of the mind. It's going to be on remote viewing, and it's going to be on awakening to multi-dimensions.
Because that's really what the UFO phenomenon is about. There might be aliens out there, and that's great, and I'm sure they're lovely people, but it's about us. It's about how do we make contact with who we really are as infinite beings.
And as the late astronaut Edgar Mitchell said, you can go into space either through a spaceship or through the power of the mind, as he proved by his experiments when he was in outer space with 2 human biological targets on Earth. We are multidimensional. This is the greatest breakthrough that has happened since the splitting of the atom, that we are in local reality, three-dimensional, but we can be in multidimensional reality. That means that we have to grow up. And this is the time to open the doors of Planetary Schoolhouse to the Cosmic University.
Right, because guess what? We could be looking for aliens out there, but we are the aliens. You ever notice how different we are than all the other animals here? We have animal bodies, but we put things on our wall, we dress up. I mean, we're from somewhere else, and we have this multi-dimensional mind that no one has taught us how to use. So we're going to really go into what that mind, that greater mind, is capable of, which is infinite possibilities. We are non-local beings. We can see beyond time and space. And I know it. I proved it in the class. It surprises me every time I see that. But it's like, wow, we really are this.
But actually, as Linda Moulton Howe has said many times, it's very similar to the Nordics. We're similar to the Nordics or to the tall whites. I think because we are connected with them directly. So we are really alien beings.
Also, there are the small, tall blues. There are people in the green and the brown tradition. So we want to look at the rainbow connection of Joseph's coat of many colors in the Holy Scriptures. This is obviously not a polarization between the fundamentalists who want to claim domination of the space program, but to look at the cosmic family.
But let's take a look at the universe. Are we in a holographic universe where each part is part of each part? And people talk about this, and I believe in this certain sense we are, because we exist in a non-local reality, which means if you actually had split a photon or split an electron, and they've done this with scientists, even sending something up to the satellites, you split it in one place on the Earth, and you move that, a half of it, the other half of that you split, to another place or even in outer space, and then you spin one of them, the other one spins automatically, faster than the speed of light. That's what scientists understand as non-local reality.
And entanglement. So the real thing, calling us aliens is kind of silly. We are cosmic beings inhabiting this planet for a little while.
But a term is evolutionary leaders.
That's right. We are evolutionary beings. We're uplifting the frequency here. All of us here at this expo want to raise it to the next level so there doesn't have to be war, starvation, or awful things. We want to live in peace and harmony so we can be creative, joyous beings. That's our destiny. That's why we're here. So we're from the cosmos trying to lift the energy of Earth and the frequencies around us.
And we actually say we're from light bodies, which concretize in matter for a experience here and now. And I say there's 8 billion people on the planet, and that's because this is a critical time, a time of graduation, and that's why we're here.
Yes.
So we look really beyond what we will call the neuro-holographic model to include also the psychic or psycho-acoustical model, which means we begin to see the vibratory nature of why we are biotransducers, why we are humans in a vibratory body that can pick up sound signals from all directions, and thus open all 7 levels called historically the 7 chakras of the 7 seals. We are a tabernacle of vibration and experience.
Right, and when you can encode that understanding into your cellular structure, you ignite the biophotonic potential and you turn into light. That's our capability, that's our destiny.
You dance on water.
Yes.
So let's
become light.
Let's try to be in harmony together with sharing sound and vibration, because we think we're all also instruments of vibration and sound. And let's use the Om just to bring the energy of this room together. And we're happy we have so many great people here. Thank you all for joining us today.
What a crowd here, right? I know.
I'm going to begin.
Good job, Alan.
Feel the vibrations come from the bottom of your feet, up to your solar plexus, up to your heart, the breathing connected with your neck area, and then into the higher chakra centers. Feel the vibration exit the top of your head, and feel also the presence of the overself, the higher self. Feel the vibrations seen in the ancient depictions of the master teachers, who have spheres of light around their heads, and who operate in what is called the noosphere, the sphere of the mind, or the pneumosphere, the Greek philosophers called the realm of the spirit, the higher dimensions. We now begin to understand our home. We begin to swim in hyperspace. A technical note, if that camera in the back could be focused here on the stage.
Yeah.
But you know what we just did? We really harmonized our frequency with sound. There's a different dimension here right now. Do you feel it? It's like a different room than we walked into. We kind of joined in union with each other. That's entanglement. That's resonance. And you can, everyone, this is about all of us. You can feel it, right? Can you feel it?
So perhaps some of you saw Anita Morjani last night. She's one of my favorite speakers here. And she talked about consciousness awareness. In fact, her new book is Sensitive is Strong, or something very similar to that power. So how do we have this greater consciousness awareness? It's by understanding our interconnectedness. That's the first thing with understanding remote viewing, that we are all connected in some vibratory frequency, in some sense of awareness.
That's what we just did. We all connected. We're in this frequency. We're really different than the other people in the other room. We've created we've created a container.
So Carlos Santana calls this the global tone.
Right.
We have to find our human resonance and raise it, because you don't have to convert the world one way or the other. Just raise 1% into a higher vibratory matrix. And nature takes over and connects us with the other dimensions of the plenum of energy.
But actually, Anita said one other thing, and that's what she was really talking about. Where we become aware of people and their perceptions and cease to focus only on our own point of view and from our own reality. So she was talking about empathic people. Some people are empathic, but in a certain sense, all of us need to develop that sense of what others are thinking and why they're thinking the way they are. And she also brought it back to herself that we also still have to be strong in ourselves, so we can't be taken over by that energy. But basically we need to be aware of really the other perspective.
Not yourself is great, but we have to stop being so involved with our own story, our own history, our own personal, our own traumas. It's great, I mean, whatever. But we're here to be a part of something bigger. I said this in the last class, but in JJ's book, The End is Suffering, there's a guy sitting at a bar and he's yelling at the bartender and he says, "Hey pal, you have no idea who I think I am." And it's like we have this, I know, a little delayed reaction. We have this story about ourselves, and that's not real. You carry around your past and it's fabricated. Every time you think of it, you're fabricating it. We are unknown, infinite beings. Just get that one. We are really infinite, and that's what we're really going to focus on.
And so we also understand that there's a cosmic consciousness awareness where we also become aware of the cosmos that is living and the universal mind that is all-knowing. And of course the fact that we are not alone. But what does we are not alone really mean? Does it just mean that there's some guy down the heavens that's going to drop by sometime? No, it really means, and this is actually comes out in the chapter we wrote in Making Contact, that we are literally interconnected with minds not only on this planet, but as you'll see later, Ingo Swann remote viewed to Jupiter. And we actually,
Saturn,
and
other places that are not recognized.
But mostly Jupiter on this presentation. But ultimately, we are also interconnected. This young girl talked about seeing a UFO. Well, chances are they saw her too.
Yes.
And there's that entanglement, as Alan mentioned earlier. Once you've seen, even if it's not a face-to-face, there's an entanglement with that reality. And the more we entangle with that reality, the more we can know the cosmos.
And it changes you. You've seen, how many people have seen UFOs here? I mean, at least some. It changes you. It means you're part of something bigger. And those beings, I think, are also here. They're interspace.
So our work has been with the cosmograms of what we see here with the sacred geometries, the multicolor patterns or overlays of how consciousness expands and works, and also the consciousness that can take in multiple dimensions simultaneously. This is the orchestration of synergy within ourselves. There's an actual term for it called Syntony. It means the orchestration of all of your chakras, all of your consciousness levels at the same time.
So we know we're part of this universal mind because what is flowing through that body right now is the universal mind, overshadowed by the personality, but you are being fed by the universe, the source, whatever you want to call it. It's coming through you right this moment, and that's miraculous. So
Yes, so if you think of yourself, say you're like way out here, maybe just a little spot here, the whole planet or solar system. But look at it, we really are interconnected. Now they know that actually magnetic fields actually exist throughout the solar system. They used to think that it was just because of the planet itself, but now they know the entire local universe is full of magnetic fields and voids of magnetic fields. So you can see how that interconnectedness shares with everything.
And this is why we're here at the threshold of the unknown. We're realizing this as NASA goes out in space, as the Webb telescope looks at other planets for life. I think we're at the verge of, this is what Linda Moulton Howe says, we're not alone in the universe. Expect that headline in the New York Times, or the LA Times. But we're really close, and that really won't change much for us, but it'll give a confirmation of what a lot of us have always known, that we're not a freak of nature.
So just to recap, what is consciousness? That's always the question. We can define consciousness now as non-physical in the sense of classical physics, since it is working as the observer at the quantum level, but it's also entangled with the brain. So the person I like who wrote the best book on this is called The Field, Lynn McTaggart. And basically she said, it's everywhere. This field is everywhere. And we simply tap into those levels of consciousness that are out there. So we can pull in information from any level that we can tune into. And there's really no limits in reality. The limits are the limits we put upon it.
Along with this, there's quantum tunneling, the ability to go into other dimensional realities, open other doorways of perception. So this little spark above the head, some will call the divine spark that we're just beginning to understand as we go into 8 space, according to Elizabeth Rauscher, beginning to understand how the portal of energy is beginning to change. And if you listen carefully to what Linda and other speakers have said, we're entering into a higher frequency now. We believe this is connected with the 5th dimension, where things are going to change very rapidly, things are going to speed up. We need to integrate, but we need to be substantially in balance, and that is the synergistic use of multidimensional sound.
Right. So you first trust your mind. If you're getting a vision and intuition, that's a reality. You're opening the pineal and pituitary gland. This is a real gland behind your skull here. It's a pituitary gland. When you open it, it is an eye. It sees higher than visible light. It sees dimensionally. So trust what you're getting. And so the brain is divided into 2 parts. There's the left brain, which is really logical, concrete, everything is what it is. And there's the right brain, which is getting the intuition from the source. It's non-local. The left brain is local, the right brain is non-local, and when you access this, sometimes it feels like in the remote viewing classes, I ask people, how'd you get that? How'd you get the target? They goes, I don't know. And that's always the right answer, because the left brain wants to be so in control of its reality, has to know everything, and the right brain is just feeding on the flow of time, space, coming right in. You can feel it just coming right in. And when you're empty, you make that part more available to you.
And ultimately, we will merge the right and the left hemispheres in harmony. And that's what I think is the next phase of our own evolutionary soul growth.
Yeah, we're here to be whole brain, of course. You need the steering wheel, but you need the rest of the car to be the vehicle. So that's it. I think Einstein said, the logical mind is really the servant, and the intuition is the gift. And so that's the balance. We're changing around. We've been all left brain by the time, every day we have to left side, right. When you're in school, you're taught ABC, 1, 2, 3, you're taught to think inside a box, nothing wrong with it. But when you come in, you have this vast imagination that is then confined into a box, and you're ignoring that. And we're here to bring that back, because that's the gift. That's what we came in with. The imagination is the human being, which William Blake said.
So we have to dream in Technicolor. We have to begin to feel the orchestration of music taking place, because the global tone is now beginning to change, and you have all of the negative information on the world media And this is entrapment into a culture of death rather than a liberation into a culture of peace, a culture of life.
But logic wants to put it all in order. How is that going to happen? Well, we can't figure that out with our logical minds. We have to be the peace we want in the world, right?
Yes, and so let's take a look at this augmented picture from the other. When our thought processes are aligned in service, because that's a very big thing. I know people that have had experiences, and when they really say, the information I want is not just for me. I'm going to use that to help humanity, or I'm going to use that to help someone else. It's a shift in consciousness because the consciousness field is permeating. It's constantly aware of everything that you're thinking, and every one of you is thinking, and it's all going into the field, but it's also sending energies from the field. So when you're aligned in service, this helps to receive higher information that is then fed throughout the body and ultimately shared with the earth.
So we see here a cosmogram or cosmic picture of inductive linkage, of how the fiery nature of the inner self can be awakened to a point of resonance where the 7 chakra energy levels are brought together, allowing us to step out of ourselves, to experience the other dimensions, to swim in hyperspace. This is an experience that I had, being taken to the other side and brought back. Information now, which I wrote specifically in 1973 regarding the changes that would take place in 2004 that were suppressed when 300 vehicles visited this planet off the coast of Campeche, Mexico. This information was to have been brought out by the Mexican government, but was stopped by the American government.
So how did JJ know?
And then later in 2017, as you know, the New York Times and all of the networks mentioned what happened with the Nimitz also in 2004. It's mentioned in the Keys of Enoch. Why don't you hear about this? The information was suppressed. The power structures that be, and I say this out of respect, just didn't have their act together sufficiently to show the cosmic roadmap.
Right, they want to keep us in that box of logical thinking, left brain thinking, right? So if it's not logical, it can't exist. But when you look at this picture, are you looking up at the chessboard or down at the chessboard? So this brings us beyond duality. Your right brain says, great, you're looking up and down. Your left brain says, that's impossible. I can't be looking up and down at the same time. But guess what? You are. You're looking up and down. So we have to go beyond the brainwashing of logical thinking, which gets us from A to B, but your right brain gets us everywhere else. So it's both. This is the new time we're moving into, a time beyond duality, time black and white, this or that. It's all, it's both and. So this is retraining your right brain to think not illogically, but beyond logic, a greater logic.
Superlogically.
Yes, super logic.
So let's look at an affirmation, because this is important, that we need to affirm within ourselves how to live in this reality, because this reality is not perfect. I think almost all the speakers here indicated that, and if anyone tells you it's something else, they're wrong, because really it is a world of duality. And so there's energies that try to bring you into fear and other energies that try to bring you into love. So what's the reality? You have to make the decision. Every moment is a moment of choice, and you can do that with affirmation. So one of the affirmations is, I will work to transform violence, fear, anger, and confusion in myself. And that's something you really should say every day, because every moment we're bombarded by the duality of this reality, by the positive, by the negative. And it's really up to us with love and with wisdom. I say the two have to go together, because you have to have the wisdom to know what's real, what's reality, and how you can shift the reality that you live in into something greater. I think some of you know that, like, people who are always negative at work and don't have any friends, as soon as they start changing their reality at work into being more positive, more understanding, the people around them start changing and they start having a better environment. This is so important to realize how energy works on this planet. A lot of it, and you can blame other things. You can blame, the governments, or you can blame the economy, or you can blame whatever you want. But ultimately, a lot of it is up to us, what we surround ourselves with and what we desire to do.
Right, but your institutions are just training you for left brain, mechanical, unemotional. ABC 1, 2, 3. It's just very linear, and we're not that. That's only a part of us.
So life is like a series of Chinese geometries or boxes interconnected as we see here on the screen. Here the brain creates a tuning with the consciousness field, this larger field of energy, around, within, beyond, which is non-local, a non-local control process which steers the information or our focal points by adjusting to various probabilities. Again, I emphasize the multicolor arrangements, the depth of field, the ability to pull back and realize, wait, my mind is super consciousness orientated. We can try better, we can do better, and we can make the mind over matter consciousness communication with the cosmic others work. So we don't have to go into this dualism of destruction.
Right, so you're both the wave and the particle. We think we're really solid, but we're moving through this wave. So it's an integration of this left and right side.
And
of
even the
awareness.
ancient Egyptians used multicolor depictions
Yes.
of how the great teachers or instructors like Horus, who was adopted by the Christian Coptics in Egypt, recognizes higher teachings through the feminine side rather than the masculine side. It's the feminine side, the right side of the brain, that's so important for both male and female as we merge together the new science.
So yeah, Horus is the god of sort of creation and creativity, sending this energy right into the brain, the consciousness of this woman here.
So this is another side of reality. We talked about you sending signals up and then receiving signals back. But where are you receiving it from? Well, you can receive it from, we believe, two different places. One, you can receive it from other energies within the field that you're harmonizing with, whether it's a positive harmony or a negative harmony, you're still harmonizing with the field. Or you can also do it with your higher overself, because we believe that everyone has a higher self that's also trying to feed information. And we really need to, it's so important at this day and age, to tune into that overview effect, which is what astronaut Edgar Mitchell said when he came back from being on the moon. He said, I had this overview effect, which means you see something from outside of yourself. You see the greater image. You see things going on from around you, from not your perspective, but from everyone's perspective.
You know, when Edgar Mitchell looked back at the Earth, he didn't see any divisions, any borders, any countries. He just saw this beautiful blue, green, white planet floating in space, and that was home. That's the beauty of this creation, and we have to serve that and the abundance that is possible here.
And when we look at the word Horus, we're not worshiping Horus, we're seeing Horus was an ancient mathematical musical symbol for the higher light of the overself to speak on 5 different levels. This is the concept also, the 5 bodies in the Eastern traditions of the sutras. We call it in the Keys of Enoch the electromagnetic body, the epigenetic body, the Eka body, or the higher self, the Zohar body, and the inner light body of Gematria, or mathematical music. All these put together allow one to ascend from the human through the different methodologies to be with the higher master teachers of light.
Right, so we have to get rid of this mechanistic linear thinking and learn what the ancients knew. If we knew what they knew, we'd be in a much better position now.
But in actuality, we also have to realize, as I said, we're vibratory frequencies, we're vibrations, we're symphonies, we're orchestras all within ourselves. And we know the human brain works by using both chemical and electric signals. And really, you have these frequencies. In fact, they've even broken them down to even more about the gamma, extreme focus, the beta, waking, the alpha, relaxing, and the theta, meditation. It's interesting that some of the Tibetan yogis, you'd think that they would have theta. Actually, what they were showing was gamma. Very, very interesting study on that was done with their abilities. But we feel that alpha, the relaxing thing, is what we really need more and more. And so this is some sort of way of just changing the frequencies within our reality. The Schumann wave resonance, which is natural to our Earth, is operating very close to these alpha waves. Luc Montagnier, who was a Nobel Prize winner for HIV, actually took a test tube of DNA next to a test tube of water, and he put it in a area between 7 and 8 hertz frequencies, that alpha frequencies, similar to the Schumann wave. And the next morning, he could actually get the codes, not the material structure, but the code structure of the other DNA out of simply the water molecule, which means vibration is interpenetrating. That's that non-local entangled awareness, and frequencies and vibrations have an intricate part in all of that.
We also found even in the Great Pyramid there were resonances of the gamma field. And we recognize, as Desiree just said, that we are really body beings of water, 70% in some instances to 80% at birth. Mm-hmm. We have this natural capacity to process higher vibrations.
And you know, as Emoto said, what's his name? Masame Emoto said, if we can affect water by sending out thought, we affect water in our bodies by what we think. We could change that water because we're mostly water. So when you think positive thoughts, your cells come into more alignment.
So we look now at the cosmogram. Now it's in motion. We feel ourselves moving into a higher frequency of vibration where we see the symbolism with the ancient mystics called the tree of life unfolding in all directions. We begin to realize electromagnetic fields that come from wireless devices, microwaves, have limitations, and cell phones can affect your DNA. But the right frequencies can also help you heal your body and actually transcend your physical situation of a three-dimensional reality.
Right. So it's like your thoughts can create the right vibration. Keep uplifting, keep sending out love and joy and happiness to yourself and everyone around you. That changes the frequency.
So it's the psychic, acoustical wave vibrations that are very important, that are, shall we say, ignored by scientific reductionists who are simply interested in the skeletal frame of the body, the neuron nets of the brain, but overlook the spiritual capacity of the energy field that we swim in through vibrations.
And I also want to mention some of the physical, because we all still exist in the physical body. So it's interesting that actually almost every organ has different frequencies. Earth field, geomagnetic urban noise, the heart, the muscles, the eyes, the brain rhythms, they all have different frequencies. And I just want to take a few moments to say how important that is and how frequencies, many people who have had extraterrestrial contact, and especially higher dimensional contact, and I say those are two different realities, actually get it through sound frequency vibrations. There's hums. Maybe you don't hear the words, but there's a frequency vibration connected with that actually can heal and help.
Remember the end of Steven Spielberg's film, Close Encounters. Right. It was not the police, it was not the scientists, it was those who were operating musical signals to the mothership and beyond. Mm-hmm. That was the clue that was overlooked by most critics. It is the vibratory experience that is so important in discerning those who are here to help us and those who want to enslave us in lower technology.
So we are multidimensional beings where we can vibrate our bodies beyond this dimension and at least access it consciously, and then at some point change this body. But let's start with the consciousness and raise that vibration. Always try to raise it so you're living in the best life ever, as some people say.
Right, and so the frequency vibrations are ways of communication and ways of healing the physical body. I know everyone's somewhat interested in that. And sound healing really does work because we, along with thought healing, I have to say thought healing and sound healing together really make a difference. But I just want to say how resonant we are to these frequencies. This is what was developed in Israel called tumor treating fields. And it was developed about the year 2000. It's actually acknowledged and accepted by the FDA, connected with Harvard University. So for glioblastoma, if anyone knows that, if you put your cell phone too much to your head, some people, sadly, have gotten brain cancer. And the only way to cure that, well, you can remove it, and they require that before you use these frequencies. But then to put this vibrating field on your head to wear it. You can put a hat on top of it, of course, and that stops the cells from dividing just by frequency. The company is called NovoCure. It's actually a stock market company, and amazingly, that frequencies have been revealed to be able to change the cellular structure of the body.
The research was done by Dr. Yoram Paltai. As you will see here in the matrix of what he found, using a cocktail of frequencies, he was able to deal with brain tumors, rectal cancer, pancreatic cancer, ovarian, breast, etc., etc. You have really the major terminal diseases that were corrected by the right frequencies that he were brought together.
Right, but unlike Rife, who many people have looked at, he actually uses numerous frequencies. Like for breast cancer, 188 frequencies, and they're still honing it in. I think they've been mostly approved for glioblastoma because basically that's the one cancer that's very, very hard to cure. But anyway, just to show how that energy really can affect the body.
Even cymatics, there's frequencies to each organ, and this guy in England created a pool, like if you had a liver issue, you'd send the liver frequency into this water, and then you'd swim in this water to readjust the frequencies of the body.
So sensitive is our body.
Yeah, so this is Dr. Emoto, who I mentioned, and this is what happens with positive thinking. You actually change the crystalline configuration of water. And so that's a six-sided, beautiful crystal, and that's because he kept sending positive, loving energies into the water, and then he looked at it under a microscope, and that's what he got. If you look at negative thoughts, do we have a picture? Oh, there you go. Same water, negative thoughts. So you can do that.
You can swim in an ocean of mud,
Right.
a river of mud, or you can walk on water, as the Christ story tells us. And in his lab in Tokyo, which I visited, he has a picture of one of the saints reaching up to a higher vibratory source.
You could do that experiment at home with a jar of rice, 2 jars of rice, or white rice, whatever you want to do. Put them in a jar, yell at one, and love the other, and you'll see the one that you're yelling at. If you want to do that, I'm not saying you should yell, but it will turn darker and moldy faster than the other. I know people have done that.
And why are we talking about this in remote viewing? Basically because vibrational thought forms, energy actually affect the reality around us. Again, we're about 65 to 70 to 75% water, depending on age. And if someone's yelling at you all the time, your energies can look like this. If someone's giving you love and positive energy, it can look like something more beautiful.
And if you're sending out the love and not yelling and speaking sweetly, your body becomes more crystalline. Your energy, your water.
And even the music you listen to. I hate to say that. This is his study, not mine. But heavy metal music was kind of a mess, whereas like John Lennon's Imagine was beautiful. So just to say the vibrational frequencies are important, that we're putting into the consciousness field, and we're getting from the consciousness field.
Even Alice Coltrane, before she died, came to me and he said, let's electrify the world by the sacred mantrams. That album is going to be released ultimately for all these years, because even the top jazz stars recognize that we're going into a planetary change of enormous proportions, and we must raise our consciousness very quickly. It's not getting all of the books or all of the videos or whatever, but working within yourself, on your inner tabernacle of the heart. Unless you open your heart to higher love and resonance, it's superfluous. You miss the point of your incarnation.
Yeah, right. So this slide says the entire biological system, the brain and the earth itself, work on the same frequency. So we're all right in this room on the same frequency, and then you go out there and we're always running to the same. Is there like thousands of people here, but sometimes you see the same person on every room? That's because you're at the same frequency. Or even in a city, you run into a friend. It's like you're on a frequency. You resonate with each other. So we want to resonate on higher and higher frequencies so we can meet the others, because that's where they're resonating on. Nothing wrong with lower frequencies, but we've done that already. We've done the human drama. Time for some new adventures.
So begin to see yourself like this being here, reaching out into the universe. But what are you reaching out with? Are you reaching out with your problems? Or are you reaching out with beautiful possibilities of how you see yourself in the future?
You are angels of the second class when you begin to vibrate only with the upper part of your body. But when you vibrate holistically with your entire body, then you become aware that your soul is immortal and that you're part of a higher level of creation. You are visiting here in the third dimension, but ultimately your true higher self is already disposed to working in multi-dimensions.
That's because we have this incredible science is looking for technology. This is right there on top of your neck. There is the most incredible instrument ever created. It's multi-dimensional, multifaceted. No one has taught us how to use this. They put us in a little box. They said read, write, nothing wrong with it. But there's so much more we can do by projecting thoughts, sending thoughts, remote viewing, seeing visions. I mean, we're just in the infancy of consciousness.
So what steps can we take, Alan, to redevelop or make the reconnection with who we really are?
Well, I say first you have to get quiet. You have to put down your cell phone. You have to put it down. Step away from the phone. And just let this inner sense of peace come to you and start to realize that there's more. When you meditate, when you're internal like that, you can start to hear more of this vast frequency that's running through you. And it may seem a little chaotic, but then you have a chance to kind of sort out what the thoughts are, what the inspiration is, what the love is. It's so this third dimension is so simple. These other realms are so complex and so interesting. So we get away from the semantic reality. So you call something a tree, it's always a tree. But if you didn't call it a tree, you would just see this beautiful being there. What happened to the last slide? Okay. So this is no, the one after. Wasn't it with the
This is the turning on of your spiritual third eye, which is like a laser beam. It's not only intention, but extension of being able to project yourself out into other dimensions. And it's so important now because, again, to look at critical mass, we're given a lot of scenarios of what we're supposed to do, who we're supposed to meet on the other side, et cetera, et cetera. And we have to go beyond the extraterrestrial to what is called the ultra-terrestrial, that which was known by astronaut Mitchell, by Linda and myself. This is the work behind the scenes to go to what the officialdom does not want to recognize. There's a spiritual destiny of the soul, a higher realm of consciousness and education.
But intention is everything, and it's really important. Like right now, I would encourage everyone every night before you go to bed, put some energy out towards Turkey and Syria, put some energy out towards Ukraine. Make it like peaceful, see the dove there, whatever you'd like to do that you've been taught and kind of feel intended to do. But even if it doesn't manifest right away, that's the important thing. Don't be overwhelmed. Realize that putting that energy there, and all of us and all of the planet eventually, putting the energy there can shift the reality.
Right, so let's do a little demonstration. This is your third eye. What you hold here becomes reality. So think of something you want to create in your life and close your eyes and hold it, like visualize it in that third eye space. Okay, just hold that picture there. And you're going to breathe it in. And you're going to hold that image. You're going to blow it out. Okay, hold it again. Bring it back. We're going to do this 3 times. Hold that image of what you want to create in your life. And hold it and breathe it in. And blow it out. Now we'll get a little fuzzy, but go back to that picture. Focus on that picture. This is your intention. Hold it. Hold that image as long as you can. Breathe it in. Hold it. Hold it. Hold it. And blow it out. And so be it. It becomes the reality that you created. And when it comes to you, don't be surprised when it shows up. Acknowledge yourself that the future has entered you. You've created the reality, because it will come. It might not come in the exact form, but what you want to manifest comes because this is intention, and that manifests reality. Because if you don't manifest your reality, a reality will be manifested for you. That's the default position. And so we have to get over the fact that we think everything is logical. Everything is semantic realities. We live in a world of words. But if you look at this picture, try to say the color before you say the word. Your mind wants to say the word because we're so brainwashed. But if you can just say the color, you're tapping into more of that right. Because the right brain sees color. The left brain is words. The right brain is description and texture. So this is just a little training as we start to get towards the remote viewing exercise. We're going to just get more right brain, less logical, more abstract, more multidimensional. Okay, that's good. Yes.
Okay, did everyone try it a little bit? Okay.
This is another exercise in right brain.
Color spectrum.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, okay, so.
Right? It's funny, right? It's funny until your left brain says, well, I think I know. But if you just look at it, the humor is like, oh my God, what's happening there? That's your right brain talking to you. But as soon as you say, well, how could that be? Then you've lost it. So go forward.
Okay, yeah.
Keep
She
going.
wanted one minute. Let's take the middle one. We can just say orange, green, black. It's very confusing, huh?
Because
you're
so
already
brainwashed.
Yeah.
I am too. Yeah, we all are. And so this is a range. Show the next slide.
Yeah.
And that's like funny, isn't it? Before you start thinking about it, it's like that's humor. It's funny. And it's like, wow, how'd that happen? You know? That's the humor. That's your right brain. It's the funny part of you, right?
But this is important because a lot of people have had light entities or certain types of unique experiences in their midst, and they can't make sense of it. So it gives them a fear. And it's interesting, even the Bible, I think when Mary saw the angel, first thing it says, don't be in fear. I mean, that's like the one line, don't be in fear. Because these realities are different from us, and we need to start living and processing those unique realities.
There's nothing wrong with logic. That's great, but that will only keep you 3D. And it's great if you want to be in 3D, but there's a higher form of consciousness that's not illogical, but it's a higher form of rationality, of perception, let's say. That's the key. And so we all have evidence of remote viewing. When Alex Gray painted this picture called The Mother of the World in 1989, you saw these planes over the World Trade Center on the right side. This is 1989. And then in 2001, he said, oh my God, how did I, two planes over the World Trade Center. This is one that shows up a lot of times. People wrote a book about the Titanic, I think, 10 years before it actually sank. And so there's, but not just negative things, there's also positive visions of the future. So this is one where we can choose between the joy and paradise on one side or the negativity on the other side.
We can go back in space and time and understand prehistoric life. We can go under the ground as we did in Egypt and in Mexico and find archives of ancient information. The ability of remote viewing basically changes all of the sciences from A to Z. We realize we are futurists already in the present, looking into the future because it's already embedded within our incarnation matrix. We are seeing the larger picture of the tree of life, the different branches of knowledge. We can see and focus on negativity, but the importance is to change that now to the positive scenarios of life, rebirth, coevolution, and reconnection. That's why we're here. We are the avant-garde of this great consciousness change that is taking place that also has biblical roots. If you look deeper and deeper, you will see in the book of Proverbs the concept of wisdom, higher knowledge, or chokmah, that can be energized.
Yeah, if you can see the future, you can change it. That's the idea. But you don't even know what you're seeing. But these guys, these were pioneers. That's Ingo Swann, who had created remote viewing. Who's that in the middle there?
Hella Hammond.
And what was her story?
She was a secretary. I love
But
that.
she was an expert remote viewer.
And Russell and House needed someone to be trained in remote viewing, and so she said she was willing to do it, and she was one of the best. She was with the guys.
She projected herself inside the Kremlin and actually saw the details.
And walked her through the halls of the Kremlin and gave all those specific details. The other was Pat Price. You know, for fun, this is before he was actually called into SRI, he would actually have a map on his wall detecting Soviet submarines under the water. That was what he did for his fun, for his hobby.
Remote viewing, I said this in this other class, it was to keep up with the Russians who had a psychic spying program in the 1970s, and the CIA said, well, if the Russians are doing, we better get our people psychically spying. But they didn't want to call it psychically spying. So remote viewing was created by Ingo Swann, who was an expert psychic, when someone trained him, Hal Puthoff, who's not in this picture, said, okay, look onto the basement of this building. And he did. He said, and he saw this dial. It was, I don't know, keeping count of the electricity or something. And he said, what are you doing? He said, I'm remote viewing. And that really stuck. It was a lot more of a professional name than psychic spying, and the CIA adopted that. For 25 years. They developed a remote viewing program, and
So
these
the
are
final
the founders.
part of the story is Russell Targ and myself put together in the book called End of Suffering many of the important scenarios. And we call it the end of suffering because the psyche is trained on this planet to suffer. We know through the ancient sages, there is an expression, why does the righteous man suffer? When you know too much, you see the games being played by the world, so you have to transform within yourself. And Ingo Swann gave us this beautiful picture of the cosmic egg that represents our mind being opened, where we see the whirling galaxy within our mind's eye. We begin to see the higher worlds, and we have what is called fearless living in a troubled world or times. We begin to step over the drama of a culture of death into a culture of life and light. And see the meaning of why we are here as it were, the avant-garde of this great change that is coming very soon.
Right, so when you step out of this drama, the human drama of your own personality, out of right and wrong, good or bad, that duality thinking, you step into these higher dimensional realms where you can live in joy, because joy is in the moment. It's not something in the future. It's right now, right here. That's the end of suffering, beyond duality.
So this is what Helen Hammett said and wrote about.
Right. So basically, what would happen is, in terms of the test from SRI, someone would be sitting in one of the lab rooms at SRI, and another group would be the outbound people who went to certain locations, took a picture there, and sent that mental image back. And you can see how Hella Hammond was able to take this pedestrian overpass and be able to put that in. That's famous, but she did a lot of other things. Alan, you have another one here?
Well, this Uri Geller, I think, where he was able to. So someone has a picture of grapes, and this is Uri Geller in the middle picture, what he drew. But he didn't know. It's like when you're remote viewing, you don't want to name something that's left brain. You just want to get the feeling of circles, and then you can name it after you get it. So when we do it, we just want the impressions. We don't want to name anything. We want to describe it. That's the difference. It's more active. It's more adjectives. It's not nouns. We want to take it out of the box and keep it abstract. So that's your right brain over your left brain.
Right. So, for example, there was eyeglasses. So someone had two circles, and then the lines between them, and then the lines behind. And when Uri and others oftentimes remote view that, they get the two circles. They don't understand all the lines. So you don't have to be perfect in everything. It starts to develop. And Alan said, of course, put away your cell phones. But I say, if you want to learn remote viewing, take out your cell phones. No, what you really want to do is when someone's calling you, don't look right away.
I always know when my mother's calling me. It has that certain quality of ring. It's like, oh, I mean, I just sense it. It's just like, oh, she's calling me again. Okay, yeah, you can feel it, but you can feel it with everyone. If you're entangled with them, your children, your parents, your relatives, your best friends, you can feel what they're going through.
Yeah, exactly. And Rupert Sheldrake did a whole study on this, and people, especially families, you can always tell pretty much once they've started doing remote viewing that they're the ones calling. But you can do this all on a regular basis. So just, it takes you, 5 seconds, even less, before you look at your phone to think who it is. And you start developing that sense of remote viewing.
Rupert Sheldrake also worked with dogs and their owners, and the dogs always knew about a half hour before their owner was coming home. He documented that, and the dogs are psychic because they're aware of their ability. Elephants will leave the area when they feel an earthquake maybe hours away. Birds. So what did they have? We have bigger brains, but we've shut that part of it down.
And that's the difference between the extraterrestrials and us. We use the voice, but in actuality, we also have the same potential. Ultimately, we need to see ETs who use the power of the mind on equal footing with us, because we need to simply develop that. We have that ability. We've just been dumbed down.
So today is the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And years ago, there was, in the big stadium in St. Louis, also the Super Bowl. Here is the dome, and here's the drawing that was made by Gary Langford at Stanford Research Institute. Russell Targ was there, and he snapped a mental picture. It was sent back to SRI, and the artist there was able to draw from Russell's mind the actual situation of the circle and then a dome within the circle, as well as another mental picture of from a different perspective of the glass walls or the segments that would change, exactly like it happened in reality. So even though they were some 2,000 plus miles away, they were able to snap the mental picture and enter into that reality. That's in our book called Mind Dynamics, the real story of X-Files.
Right, and it's using our mind. We're just reiterating the fact that we have access to a consciousness that no one's taught us, and it's available to us right now. We are infinite beings, and we have this facility to know our infinite nature.
Well, what's interesting about this is the standard picture, but we also have an extended picture of it in our book. And that is that the guy who was remote viewing, when Russell was walking around the Superdome, that was one thing, but he actually remote viewed inside and drew inside the Superdome where Russell didn't even go into. So you can just see the power of the mind. In fact, considering it's the Super Bowl, we're going to go on and do a couple other remote viewing things, in fact, a physical object as well. But maybe we'll take a moment to see, and you don't have to say it, who you think is going to win the Super Bowl.
And don't guess. Don't base it on what you think. Just close your eyes. think
And
of
not
the
your favorites. Don't pass it on.
and just think of the score too. Just think of what you score and let something come to you. Close your eyes and just tune.
And then we'll drive you to Vegas
Doesn't
next. Just kidding.
But should we do it like a quick?
Okay, well, let me do one more.
Okay.
Let me do one more. So this is interesting.
All right, we'll get to that later. Okay.
This is the Hawaii the Super Bowl. Hold on.
The Philadelphia Eagles versus
Kansas City.
Chiefs.
Kansas City.
Kansas City Chiefs, Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
In
Okay.
Phoenix, so you can.
We knew none of you really cared, right? Anyway, so this is the Hawaii remote viewing group. This is really interesting because, you can say, someone's on outbound and they're somewhere in San Jose or they're somewhere in Los Angeles, go pick up where they want, wherever they are. But what you can also do, which is what Ingo Swann could do as well, you give them only, not the coordinates, not north, east, south, and west. You give them only a number reference. And that number reference then coordinates with an image picture. So you go like one other step. And they are able to, as you can see here, the viewer was Jim Kay. He accurately depicted the Kahe power plant in the year 2000 by just having that number. So in other words, all they gave him was this number. Could have been anywhere, anything, any place.
That's called controlled remote viewing. Instead of looking at an object, they would put many pictures in an envelope. Each would have a number on it, and the target, person who's looking at the target, would just look at the number, and the number would give you the impression of where that place is. When I teach it, it's like a window opens up in this part of your mind, and the images pour through, or the feelings or sensation. It doesn't have to be images. It's this whole impression when you activate that remote viewing part of your mind. It's magic. So
next is,
we did that.
Continue. We
Okay.
see now the work that Ingo Swann did as a remote viewer at SRI, looking at the rings in Jupiter that shouldn't have been there, but he was able to pick it up on the 28th of April 1973. He gave the coordinations. He also spoke of the crystals within the clouds above Jupiter. And he was looking at the fact that there was, with the surface, the great tornado taking place. He was looking at the thermal inversion layers that were there. He was looking also at infrared effects that were being emitted by the energy system of Jupiter.
So you can actually find this in the formal report of Swann's remote viewing probe of Jupiter.
This is before they knew there was a ring around Jupiter. When he sent by the CIA there, they said, you must be looking at Saturn. He said, I know what Saturn looks like. There's a ring around Jupiter, and it was years later that they found it.
So these are the actual words, because he would actually talk as well as sometimes draw. So at 6 in the morning, very high in the atmosphere, there are crystals, they glitter. Maybe the stripes are like bands of crystal, maybe like rings of Saturn. So he equated it to rings of Saturn, though not far out like that, very close within the atmosphere. And then he took, a few seconds to think about it, and he says, now I'll go down through, and they look beautiful from the outside. They look inside like they're rolling gas clouds, eerie yellow light rainbow. So he's literally remote viewing another planet.
So you might think it was his imagination, but it was not. It was imaginal cognition. It's different than creating a fantasy. This is a vision of these realities that exist in these other levels, but they're physical. And that's the magic of this technology that you got right there. You just
In research from 73 to 79, we had also the look at the Jovian rings. With the third ring system to be discovered in our solar system after Saturn and Uranus. The main ring was discovered in 1979 by the Voyager 1 probe, and later again in the 1990s by the Galileo spacecraft. Now in the book Keys of Enoch, which I'm known for, I have pictures of the pyramids on Mars. I saw the pyramids on Mars, and also that they were in a quadrangle in a very specific location of the Elysium structures. And there, Desiree has shown you one of the pictures.
From NASA. And why did NASA give JJ the pictures? Because he went to NASA and said, I think I see pyramids on the Mars. And he said, you know what? You're right, there are. And they gave him the first pictures of the
Ever
pyramids.
published in 1973. Also, I saw a spaceport that was being used. Mars is being active. In fact, according to an Israeli scientist by the name of Chaim Chad.
That's it.
No,
Hashad.
correct. There is conversations going on between the American authorities and those on Mars, which are not, as we call humans, but the cosmic others.
Well, you can see the face on Mars near those pyramids in a place called Cydonia. That's what they named it on Mars. Strange. That there's this face. There's this face that looks very.
So what do we know about Mars? It was a beautiful planet like our planet, but it lost its atmosphere. It was turned through planetary change overnight from life to death.
And war.
But there were survivors who went underground. And there were those who came from Mars to this planet and actually set up energy grid systems in South America. But that's another story.
So the canals on Mars, I think, and other people think, are real, actual structures. They're not just lava tubes. So it's interesting. They think also some cosmic war destroyed Mars. And, you know, Earth is between the planet of war, Mars, and the planet of love, Venus. Which one will we resonate with?
Even the Zulus in Africa speak of beings coming from Mars. So ancient civilizations in Africa and South America were spin-offs of higher intelligence. So history books have to be rewritten.
Yeah.
The concept of evolution has to be extended. The deeper spirituality of God's Old and New Testament has to be understood in terms of a musical message of love from the divine to each of us.
That's the vibration.
And this is the big challenge before those who are simply still in the third dimension. We have to say to the Pharaoh, let my people go. And who are the pharaohs? Those of supreme knowledge, what they think is in the control of humanity, but humanity is not being liberated.
Yeah, the corporations, the ones that, you know, control the world, and we're enslaved to that. But you know those UFOs coming here? My favorite line, they're not filling up their gas tanks to get here. They have another technology, and our government, not to be conspiracy or not, they're keeping it from us. And so we're coming to a crucial point where I think these ETs are going to say, you tell them or we tell them, and that's really going to change the world.
Yeah, but right now they said to at least this general from the Israeli Air Force who was in charge of the space program, they don't think we're ready. So, because they don't really want...
I think we're ready.
I know, but they don't really want... What do you say?
How many people think we're ready for ET contact? Yeah. Okay.
But what's our favorite pastime? This is what Stan Freeman said. Tribal warfare.
That's our history, tribal warfare. So when we dropped the atomic bomb, and that's why in 1947 they showed up in New Mexico, because that's where the first atomic blast was. The ET says, uh-oh, we better check those guys out. It's like the teenagers have the car keys, and we got to make sure they're not going to get in trouble.
Absolutely. Anyway, the CIA have reported on remote viewing, and this is one of their reports. Remote viewing is real, it is accurate, it's replicable, is being pursued by at least the CIA, the Navy, the Army, and the Pentagon, that it is being pursued for intelligence and military applications.
It's official. This works. The government invested 25 years of research, actually publicly, and then they took it privately, internally. What's that called? Project Stargate? Is that the one? So now they're still teaching remote viewing. They're just not telling you they're teaching it.
But the secret is mind over matter.
Yeah.
Non-violence, the ability to go into your spiritual body and make changes, which we call historically miracles. Okay. Moving minds of destruction into minds of light, moving from a culture of death to a culture of life, and seeing, as it were, the evolutionary blueprint that brought us here to begin with in our incarnation.
Mm-hmm. So this is where the rubber meets the road, as they say. We're going to actually do a little remote viewing, okay? JJ has something in his pocket.
What is in my pocket? What shape? What color? What texture?
So before you go there, just close your eyes. Just close your eyes and take a breath. And just breathe out everything you've just heard. And get empty. Just relax. Clear the banks. Clear the decks. Now turn your attention to J.J. Hurtaks' pocket and see what shape, color, texture comes to you. And just see. Let it flash in. Let it just appear. Don't guess.
Something very powerful.
Don't give them a hint. No. Just see what comes to you, and it's best if you can draw it, because you can overcome what the left brain wants to think. Don't name it, just draw it and describe it. If you name it, you're in your left brain. Just shape, color, texture. And it should just pop into your mind. Whatever pops in, trust it.
Take a little more time.
And I have to say, Alan does teach this on a regular basis.
I do.
So,
if someone
feel
was-
free to join him at one of his future classes.
Definitely. So if someone was to if you were to hold this in your hand, how would it feel? What shape? What would you get? What would be the texture of this object?
Technically, I have two objects in my left pocket.
Don't do that, Jade.
Oh, you have one. Come on.
One. We're going to guess the one. See what comes to you.
Hold on. I'll go get it.
What pocket is it in?
It's in the left pocket. It is
The left pocket.
You all
Just
set?
just turn your attention. Last time, I know this is first time jumping in the deep end, but let's just. Okay, don't show it yet. Let's just see. Anyone have a really clear signal? What'd you get? A pyramid. What'd you get there, Olivia? A crystal. A Merkaba.
Well, that's over his head.
What did you get, Tara? What did you get?
That's right.
A cold metal. Anyone get cold metal? How many people got cold metal? Great. What do we got?
Laser pointer.
A laser pointer. How many people got close to that? Wow, at least very good. And you got a brush? You got a brush? Oh, that was in his other pocket. How many people got a brush?
No, that was in the
This
same
guy did.
JJ and I first met at Cal Arts
Yeah.
back in the 60s.
Yeah.
He projected.
I studied with J.J. Hurtak at Cal Arts back in the 60s, and he used to come to my concert and put his jacket over his head and listen to Bacada play. I'm playing at 4 o'clock. Anyway, my point was that with the first class that I went to at J.J., he projected a serial number off a key, and I thought of my license plate number on my VW bus, and it was the same number, 817. Remember that?
Okay.
Who got a metal thing? Who got that?
Yeah, good.
How did you get that?
I just immediately saw black and metal. And I don't know what shape it was, but that's how much.
Popped into your
Yeah,
mind.
that's enough too. It doesn't
that's
have to
a-
be the shape. It can
very
be also
good.
the color and the metal.
That she don't know how she got it. It just came in. That's your right brain trying to talk to your left brain. Your left brain says no, that's impossible. But your right brain. So we have to be whole brain. That's the whole exercise of this.
So,
And,
but again, you can develop this more and more. And our friend Elizabeth Rauscher used to remote view the food store when I asked her what she wanted for
it's
dinner.
a muscle
So
that you can
everything,
exercise.
yes.
And I'm doing classes for lightnet.org, right? Lightnet.org, and you can take an 8-week course where if we can get a group to accurately remote view what's in the pockets or on a piece of paper, then we go off planet and remote view who are the beings on these other stars. I mean, why not?
And that is the next phase, the entrance into the energy body that we have. So remote viewing is just the beginning of the other spiritual gifts.
Right. And
So,
that,
we're going to move on to just a couple of things because we're actually going to have to wrap it up pretty soon. Precognition, can we know the future? Well, let's take a quick look anyway at something that was done at the University of Colorado at Boulder in November of 2008. And basically they had amateur remote viewers, okay? So that's good. But they didn't just have one, they actually had 10. So they took the average of them. And it was on the stock market to whether the stock market was up or down. So you can see the predicted down, down, up, up, up. The rest of it was up. And the actual was the actual thing that they also predicted. You can see they said down, MM was up, down, down, down. So the majority, they actually got it right 100% of the time when taking 10 remote viewers and taking an average of that.
and Russell actually bet on the silver future traders by doing this exercise, and they were 100% right. For how long? 2 months? They made a lot of money.
Yeah, they made over $50,000. But he doesn't do it anymore. I mean, it's not something that you should.
So this ability can only work for the advancement of humanity. If you get
Right.
too much in subjective uses, then you lose that power.
Right, you can't win the lottery projecting it because you need you need some kind of connection.
So this is why we teach through cosmograms or spiritual pictures using sacred geometry. As you begin to center yourself and realize these energy points throughout your body pointing upwards to your overself in the cosmic eye of omnidirectionality, begin to synergize and bring together the power of color, the vibration of the bio network that you've often overlooked because you're only mind-centered. You have to be heart-centered and mind-centered to pull in energy from all directions represented by these master levels of teaching. Ultimately, you become really the avant-garde of change. You become the cosmic creator, the co-creator that you came to be.
Right, so you have to be comfortable with yourself. You know, you drop into that place and comfort and joy and relax into yourself, and then the greater visions come.
And I have to say that the reason why you can't get too far into the future ultimately is because of free will. So every moment is our moment of choice. It's a book that Dr. Hurtak and I and many other people were part of, because it's important to realize that every moment we have to make these proper decisions. On the other hand, Elizabeth Rauscher talked about eighth dimensional space, where really past, present, and future all become one. So, but that's why Russell is careful not to go too far into the future, Russell Targ, because of the change of free will that is available.
So you could see the future, but the future is always changing, based on every choice you're making.
So let us really start visualizing not only around our planet, but we like to send energy for peace and harmony to places around the globe, because it really does affect the energies that are there. Again, even if you don't see them dropping their arms and signing a peace treaty, you may be helping some young child or an elderly person being protected by your energy.
Especially now in Ukraine, with the wall of light that can overcome or neutralize missiles of destruction and death. We have this great situation in East Europe that can take the world one way or the other in terms of geopolitics. We must approach, however, from a cosmic vision of light, nonviolence, unconditional love, and also to ask the powers that be, those of the greater light, to shine upon our little planet and use us as energy transducers.
So we talked about non-locality, and that's one way of tuning into what's going on around you. The other aspect is of what Dr. Jack and I have come out with in a book called Over Self-Awakening, which is, who are we really? Well, we are first consciousness, and we are really, in a certain sense, we feel the body down here. Here's the little kid watching.
The avatar body.
And we really have the higher consciousness body that connects to our over-self body, and ultimately the veil is dropped and taken away, and we literally become part of that higher overself wisdom and knowledge.
It's our potential. Your overself is talking to you all the time.
This book was written 5 years before the COVID situation, where we would have to struggle with the mask, we'd have to struggle with our higher identity of realizing that we need to move upwards through positive thinking and reconnect with our overself, with the triple power called in the Eastern traditions the threefold power, the trichia, in the Western traditions, the trinity of body, mind, and spirit working together. We had to understand that if we were to understand the work of the orbs, which are energy centers of disincarnate entities coming back to speak to us, we had to realize we were in a dramatic moment of biospheric collapse, death of the planet, or quantum tunneling, the ability of reaching out with the signals of come work with us. Come energize with us, come help vibrate in the hearts of humanity, the gathering of the tribes. This is the time, not of death, but of new life.
So should we do a little meditation?
I didn't realize that actually I had to use my computer here and not theirs, even though we had sent it. So I'm going to play some music, but the computer may go out at any point. So just want to tie into this last action that we're beyond just the 7 chakra levels. We're actually connected also to the 8th, 9th, and 10th, and myriad bodies of reality.
That's the chakras, energies beyond your body. You can actually sense them. So we're going to do a little meditation here.
Yeah.
So just get comfortable in your seat. So this was all knowledge for you to take out and realize who you really are, but it's you putting that knowledge into the world, those feelings, that potential. So this opens up some minds maybe.
That was it.
And then we have to really find that infinite place inside ourselves. So we're gonna, JJ, you ready to lead us in a little meditation?
We're going to do this with music just one
No,
second.
I don't think we can do it.
Here, I might have some music on here. Well, why don't we just start?
Yeah,
And
start.
well, so close your eyes, get
We
comfortable.
recognize that the ancients were using energy mantras or energy expressions. These are very important, the sacred mantras. One of which in the ancient Greek is megale dunamis, which is the power from above, the begotten power. Megale dunamis, or from which we get the word dynamic. I'm going to sing it to you, listen to it, and as you feel this, begin to see a vibratory light around your body. Megale dunamis, megale dunamis, megale dunamis, as we begin to feel the inner trumpet, the sound within ourselves, we come out of this maze work, this localization of being entrapped in the third dimension. We began to feel the energy flow. We began to feel the synchronicity that we have with our spiritual guides, with the higher over self reality that is dawning. As we see this picture of the human face, divided by the black and white, but also energizing itself into the dimension of ascension, we begin to grasp the holism of bringing the two together, the left side and the right side, the male and the female, the east and the west, the black and the white, coming together through a higher vortex.
So as we keep dropping back into ourselves, our own embodiment, our own being, we feel our minds relaxing. We feel the thoughts straightening out gently, gently, the gentle flow of time and space through our beings. We feel ourselves in that seat. We feel our feet on the ground. And we put our attention on the top of our heads for a second. Put your attention there. Feel us at the top of our head. And now put your attention on the ceiling. You feel that room being lifted. And now we go out beyond the ceiling to the sky.
And so let us also add to the Om we sang at the beginning, the Om, Uma, which is the celebration of the world soul. The Om we know from the Sanskrit, the Aum are three vibrations inherent in creation, and the Uma is the inner or world soul. And we can say this very slowly like we did the Om. Let's do it together.
Each mantra, feel yourself go into a higher spiritual vibration, a higher sphere, if you will, in these beautiful colors, ultimately seeing briefly the master teachers who are here. We call it in the Keys of Enoch the office of the Christ, those who celebrate divine love and light and wisdom. And so we begin with the vibration together, if you wish.
Uma.
Shake your body.
2 more times.
We take a pause. We feel the vibrations of every cell of our body. In every cell we place the divine name, if possible, El Elyon, the Most High. Yod-He, Vod-He, the Creator.
Feel that emanation inside you. Feel the pulsing of your vibration, the pulsing of your heart and your soul, and your mind and your spirit and your consciousness.
We realize we are Psalm 150, prayer and praise that connects us with eternity. We feel our vibration and our incarnation coming together. We go beyond the left side of the brain, purely rational, into the super dynamic right side of the divine, that is the feminine, the creative, the nurturing, the mothering, and then the two come together. And that is the marriage of the bride and the bridegroom.
It's the marriage inside you, the divine essence sparking that body into life. It is the divine marriage.
As we see in the cosmogram now, we open our eyes, we see our little planet, and then we see the different levels of vibration that we transcend with the different levels of self-realization. Ultimately, we see the giant-like beings that were pictured in the ancient statues of the East and the Near East, amongst the indigenous. We pray, O divine, eternal source of all sources, light of all lights, love of all loves, to give us this great grasp of reality, to put on our garments of vibration, to realize what is the great prophets and mystics called the Christ self, that which is connected with the dove of vibration, bringing the peace and preparation of eternity, the inner peace that passes all understanding, the great joy of life that is eternal, that we touch with our lips, with our hearts, with the inner tabernacle of glory.
That light is in you. That divine essence is you. That divine potential is what we're here to achieve and give to the world.
And we see the coming of the dove symbol as the return of the dove that even Tesla spoke of. The dove coming down from above is that age of peace and balance that comes with the cosmic hierarchy, returning to the scene of the experiment where the Adamic mothers and fathers, children, are awakened all to a higher family of glory.
But let us also see ourselves literally raising our consciousness from being upon the earth, and we can keep our feet on the ground, but still put our consciousness into the higher heavens. And from that overview effect, we can send peace, love, and joy to the planet, to Turkey and Syria, to Ukraine and Russia, to China and Taiwan, to any place, including Ethiopia and many other places, Nigeria, that are in need of that extra light. Let us all be light beacons, light workers, light energizers.
So open your heart. Feel that light pouring out of you to those places around the world that need that light. Picture them. Send them that love, that light, that joy, and uplift the nature of all our realities by being that joy. Send that love and light through your crown, from your crown, out your heart chakra, out to the world to raise the frequency.
And thus in our vibratory body we begin to see the master teachers, the ascended masters, the avatars, the Maha-avatars, what is called the Elohistic family. The Bereshith Bara, the first words of Genesis, prepare us for the new Genesis and the coming of the Elohistic energies. The self, the Christ itself, the Elohistic over-self, ultimately all merge as our planet itself is lifted into a higher vibration and humanity is quickened into ascension.
So know that you are the vehicles of light. You are the beings from forever. You are here to give love and receive love and uplift the planet through the joy of your being. You are the ones we've been waiting for. We are that. We are the new kind, the new beings, the chosen ones because we've chosen ourselves.
And thus is the deeper meaning of the quickening. The quickening means the activation on all levels of our energy body, our energized mind, our energized spirit together. The triple power converges, and we realize we are citizens of the universe, moving now from space kind into higher realms, moving from humankind into space kind also into greater realms, moving with the children and the destiny that has been intended for this planet from ages past, the realization that we will be the cosmic citizens without the limits of death, attachment to mortal realities, because we will be written in the realm of the infinite way, infinite mind, infinite species.
And let us feel our consciousness soaring throughout the cosmos. Into the power of the universal mind we have taken ourselves, so that all things can be known, all wisdom can be given, and all love can be shared.
So let's take this power that we are out into the world, bless ourselves and all that we see, and we say, Amen, 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 and Amen. Two more slides. I thought it was over. Okay, while you're here, and in this, we're also taking this incredible trip to Egypt that the Hurtaks are leading because they've been there 20 times. It's called Egypt Ascension Retreat. It's happening September 6th to the 16th, and we're going to all these old temples that hold the frequencies already. Like, we built it in this room. It's already built for us when we go there.
And you see Ellen and Joan of Angels and Neil Gar, so all of them have been here.
Yeah.
And a final thing is we have a table at 8:34
Yes.
if you're interested in our
Books for
books.
sale.
And Alan also has his book there.
Yes.
Or
Making
around.
Contact won the book award here last night. Yes, I third place, but at least I placed. And there's an original drawing by Olivia of her E.T. Contact right here. Come up here, Olivia. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you for being
Come
here.
visiting us.
Keep remote viewing.
Yes. What a great crowd. We really shifted the vibration, at least you shifted mine, so thank you so much for participating.
And with these vibrations, we begin really the next phase of why we're together. So as we pass into the corridors, into the other realms, I'm going to hymn a song of praise. For some of you who are still interested, this will take about 2 minutes to continue the good work. May these vibrations of prayer, praise, and glory be upon us as we understand our work as shepherds with the Good Shepherd. And the great change that is coming, may we be prepared for the quickening of body, mind, and spirit in unity. And so we thank you. Pax vobiscum, peace unto all. Oh, good. Okay, which floor? Second floor? First floor? All right. Good. Great. I remember you, and I also remember Salvador Dali's girlfriend, Violet, Ultraviolet. I know the story. No, not tonight. Tomorrow. Tomorrow night. Yeah, I gotta go.
By the way, I had a really bad fall. So I didn't see it.
It's on the concrete. When we bought the car, when we bought the concrete box at at night, I tripped over it. And she heard oh, look at the stopper. We got practice in the morning and it's really here. So is it busy like this tomorrow?
But we work in Australia all the time when it comes across. We're in Jacob. Oh,
Dornberg. D-O-I-R-N.
Yes, definitely text me. I'm selling for $20.
Yeah.
I already bought it. You bought it?
Yeah.
Where, now?
Amazon.
Where?
Amazon.
Amazon. Oh, you already, is that your book?
Yeah.
I want to sign that.
Yeah.
Oh, you already bought it? Thank you.
Yeah.
Your name.
First week.
What's your name?
Yes.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for buying it.
First week. First day.
I bought yours like within the first year, and Amazon sends me a remainder.
What do you need?
This is that black dot. That means it's a remainder.
Really?
Yeah, and I bought it within a year. That means that it was never read.
Oh, is that
That's okay. I still want you to sign it.
sign it?
And I voted for it. I'm sorry you didn't.
Thank you, my friend, Mr. Tao.
Alan, I know you're from New York. I wanted to say hi. Mahesh. I think Jade and Robert. Daniel, Jade, Robert.
Oh, Daniel. Oh,
Yeah, you know that whole. Oh, we met a bunch. And we were.
I know you look familiar.
Yeah, Mahesh. It's been like 4 years.
Is it like web something with those guys?
Jade and Robert were my partners. Jade and Tanya.
Oh, Jade, Natanya. Oh, I think it was Jade.
Yeah.
Oh, I just saw her not long.
Did you?
Wait, let me just sign the book. What's
My name is Cinnamon, and my last name is Sky.
S-C-I?
Cinn. Cinnamon. I know that's a tough one, isn't it? And last name is Sky. And Ellen, I love your work. I've only been in this realm for a couple of years, and you were one of my first that I saw your videos on YouTube interviewing Bashar.
I know, that's a good one.
And yeah, a few with Bashar. And thank you. I love your sincerity of spirit and your humor. And you sound like someone from Boston, and I'm from New England, so yeah. I'm like, oh, he's kid.
Did you read the book or the whole book?
Oh yes. Oh, I read it twice already.
You did?
I love every single. You nailed it with all of them. You got the best people.
I did get the best people. I'm writing another book.
Oh, good. Good.
Yes.
Because there's more people to get, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
I was trying to think, I'm sure it was Albert's kitchen.
Yes.
It's like just that whole kind of, we ended up at a lot of group dinners.
I know. Thanks. Are you out here now?
Yeah, I live in Joshua Tree.
There.
Are you going to be at contact?
Yeah.
I was thinking about going to that.
I'm speaking at contact. Did you find
I
it?
looked everywhere.
I think it's in my bed or maybe. No, I'll find it. Hi, love.
Anyway, I'll see you. Yeah. Yeah, I actually just did my card, so let me. Thank you.
I love that. What's the name
Caravan of Dreams was probably the last time I saw it.
Okay, where's those books? Over here? The bag? Yeah, where's my books? Over here? Oh, okay. Thank you.
Oh, like this. I've seen it like this. Awesome. I love that. Yeah. Okay, awesome. That's handy to. Tanya. Awesome. Okay. Consciousness over Yes.
Yeah, I was on the other side of this wall.
Were you? Yes, because I can hear them. So.
Starships, and